Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live with your host, yours truly, Jack Veltri, here for Gamecock Central. And I am joined, as always, by my good friend, my partner in crime on GC Live on Thursdays, former South Carolina right-handed pitcher and 2010 College World Series champion, Ethan Carter. Ethan, how are we doing today, buddy?
Doing much better than last week. Sorry I couldn't join everybody last week, but feeling better. Allergy season is finally off to the races. So we're hopefully kicked it and we're moving forward.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, I know it was a little tough, a little sad that you weren't here last week because it was the Clemson preview. So
yeah,
I know you were bummed about that, but it's okay, man. We made it through, and we still.
I knew you had it. I knew you would be able to hold down the fort.
Yeah, we got a long season to go here. We got to stay healthy. So, but yeah, good to have you back, buddy. We're gonna talk plenty about that Clemson series from over the weekend. We'll give some final thoughts on what went down this weekend with the Gamecocks dropping that series to the Tigers in 3 games. But before we get rolling, need to talk to you guys real quick about our good friend Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a home or need help with your mortgage, give a call to Clint, 803-422-6797. NMLS number for him is 71597. Or go to ClintHammond.com for more info. He is a lifelong Gamecock fan, longtime supporter of Gamecock Central. Clint's been the presenting sponsor of GC Live for as long as I've ever been around at this point with GC. He's always been the presenting sponsor, and he's also been in the mortgage industry for 20 years. So you're in the right business getting in touch with him. So give him a call, NMLS number, ClintHammond.com, all info above us here on screen. All right, without further ado, let's get straight into the business here. South Carolina drops 2 of 3 this past weekend to Clemson. Ethan, this felt like a really great opportunity for the Gamecocks to win this series, especially after the way things went on Friday. I'll tell you, man, that vibe at Founders Park, we haven't seen it in a while, and it was nice being there and seeing this place, even for a game that started an hour and a half late with the rain delay. It was nice seeing those fans get rewarded with a good game, and then when they leave the ballpark, I mean, they were stoked. They were excited, and they just really couldn't carry that momentum into the rest of the weekend. You faced a really good pitcher in Michael Sharman on Saturday who threw a complete game. And then on Sunday, you just didn't play well enough. So from a overall perspective of the weekend, take it however you want. How do you assess things the way they went?
There's only one way to kind of look at it as being a disappointing weekend, especially after Friday's win. Now, the final score is a little bit misleading. The Clemson played quite a sloppy game on Friday, but the guys took advantage and went out there and Gunther was incredible and Valentin was incredible as well. Just the pitching. I think what my overall takeaway from the weekend, outside of Riley's start and Amp's start to a degree, I thought the pitching looked really good. It's Sunday. I know. I'm blanking on who gave up the home run. Who gave up the home run to Dally?
Lefty. I think it was Hudson Lee. Because he was the first.
It was Hudson. Yeah, Hudson gave up that home run to Dally, but like I said, other than I thought the pitching as a whole looked really good against a good Clemson lineup. Like I think Clemson's got that's a solid lineup top to bottom. I thought Brandon Stone looked really good. He looked really good last night too. Obviously Gunther, Valentin. I thought. I thought the pitching looked really good outside of Riley. Because Amp was kind of up and down. But it's just your offense, it's kind of the same thing we talked about all last year. Your offense has to be able to give the pitching staff a break when they're not perfect. And the offense just really came up small this weekend. And I think that's what I'd be the most worried about moving forward is the offense came up really small. And they had chances. Totally. even Friday when they won 7-0, Knack shouldn't have gotten out of the third inning or whatever inning it was. He struggled.
It was the third,
yeah, it was third. Knack shouldn't have got out of the third inning. Like that's one where you gotta put them away. They had chances.
They put up 4 runs that inning, though. I mean, if there was ever an inning to really yes, that could have probably been the one that knocked him out of the game. I think they got him up to 70 pitches by the third inning. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the fourth inning, really, I mean, he worked through 5 innings. So I think you really should have been able to get him out by the fourth inning. I think the problem is that they had the big inning, and then they really just didn't do much after that. Offensively. So, and Knox a good pitcher. He's a very capable pitcher. He's going to probably be an early round draft pick this year. And the bigger thing is you really haven't hit him before. So getting that 4 spot against him, I think, was a big confidence booster. But you're right. They probably should have knocked him out. So I'm sorry. Continue on.
No. Because you're right. I think, but the long-winded way I was getting to that was I think this has been an issue with this team this year is that they'll get pitchers on the ropes and they let them get out of it. They have not been able to strike the killing blow on some of these starting pitchers and get into these bullpens. I mean, the guys who are coming in the 4th inning are not typically, the top arms of a staff. And then you can kind of beat it, you get into these bullpens early in the series. And then when Sunday rolls around, then you can see some of these slugfests start to happen. But I think what I'm most worried about with this team is the offense they're not able to just, deliver that killing blow to get some of these teams, to put them away early. And, it's just, I mean, like I said, you scored 7 runs on Friday and you scored 3 the rest of the weekend. You're just not going to win. You're not going to win series that way.
And the other thing is you scored 7 runs. Yes, you had the big 4-run inning, but you also scored there was a run that scored because on Lizama's RBI single in the center, the throw went home and then the catcher threw the ball into center field with a runner on third on that play. So a run scored there. 2 more runs scored on wild pitches, and then another run scored on a throwing error. So you scored 7 runs, but 4 of them came by Clemson's own doing. So, and I think it made more sense why South Carolina really struggled to score after that, because you can't basically count on Clemson to have a really rough game in the field every single night. And you got one on Friday, you got lucky in a lot of ways. And Clemson wasn't winning that game either way because your pitching was stellar, but your pitching had to be perfect the next 2 days, and it wasn't. And the starting pitching, I know you believe it looked great. To me, I don't think Amp looked terrible. It's just Clemson was just on his pitches. He wasn't fooling anybody. So that's the problem. I don't think it was a command problem or anything like we'll get into with Goodman here. I want to talk more about Riley here in a little bit. But I think with Amp, it's just Clemson was on his pitches. He hung a breaking pitch to Nate Savoy for a 3-run home run. And in a 4-1 game, that was the difference. So I think the offense, yes, it's a little bit worrisome. Adam points out here in the comments, 4 hits in 3 straight games is not good. No, not at all. You went 12 for 91 against Clemson. That's a 132 batting average. That is not good. You were pretty good with runners in scoring position, but you didn't have a ton of opportunities with guys. And honestly, when you look at just any runners on base, I think they were 6 for 31. So point being, the offense is a bit of a concern. And I think that brings us into a more overall discussion here. I think there's been a lot of critiques of this offense in the plate approach. Now, Paul has famously talked about many a times that he even said it on Friday that South Carolina doesn't draw walks, they earn walks, which is okay, fine. But here's my thing. What is the difference between a single and a walk? Nothing. You're on base. The point is to get on base and move the runners over and drive them in. You can't hit a grand slam with nobody on base.
Right.
Like, you can't do that. So you've got to be able to get guys on base. And look, when you didn't have a ton of runners in scoring position opportunities because you just didn't have guys on base. Now you had the 2-run single in the Sunday game against Clemson with 2 outs and 2 guys on base. So that was good. But you really weren't able to just generate offense much besides that. You had a few balls that Patrick Evans, one ball that hit off the top of the left field wall, and then Lazama hit that one to right field on Sunday that looked like it was going to leave the yard, but it hung up.
Yep.
So, but those would have been solo home runs. So that's the thing, is that South Carolina they don't look great offensively, and the potential is there. I mean, they're hitting 278 as a team, 17 homers this year. They've struck out 99 times, and they're walking 48. So it's about on pace with what they were doing last year. But also, here's the other thing that is really not great, I don't think. A 363 on base percentage. I don't think that is all too great, honestly.
No.
They're slugging 476. I mean, that's about an 800 OPS as a team. So that's not great, honestly. And it does beg the question. I'll just ask it straight up. You know baseball as well as anyone. Does the plate approach need to change, and how so?
Yes. Saturday's game, more than anything, just show, like I didn't watch all the game. I was texting you. I was help a buddy out of shop, and so I had the game on my phone. But my man threw a 78 pitch complete game.
No, totally.
That's something like that's. To your point, like, these guys have to be more confident in hitting with 2 strikes. And because there's just no reason for again, especially because I think he was at 48 pitches through like 6 innings or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's like, guys, after that, like, we got to make some kind of adjustment. Getting like
there was no adjustment. The problem was, Ethan, is that, and you can speak really well to this, the guy was just throwing strikes over the plate. It's easy to say, all right, take more pitches, do something different. The problem is, if you take more pitches, you're going to be looking at strike 3, because the guy was just throwing. It wasn't even like he was throwing that hard. His off speed was just good. But he just continuously pounded the strike zone. It is not every day that you see a guy throw 67 strikes with 11 balls. I mean, that's just not – you got to just literally just tip your cap to the guy, because that's literally what it is. I don't want to say it's like a once-in-a-lifetime type of performance, but it is, because you don't see guys go less than 80 pitches for a complete game. I'm sitting there in like the 5th, 6th inning, and it's like the guy's throwing 40 pitches. It's like, what are they doing here? They had 11 at-bats where they swung at the first pitch and put the ball in play. 2 of them went for hits.
And that's just, that's the approach part where you got to, I'm not saying take 2 strikes, but you see a pitch, like, see one before you commit to, like, because again, like you said, I was a pitcher, so I don't know, kind of how at bats have gone. I stopped hitting after senior high school, but like, yeah, man, take a strike, foul something off. Like you said, just work the counts, because again, these pitchers get confidence in it, and it's a wrap, man. Like, a pitcher with some confidence.
Oh, it's a hard man to beat. Yeah, it has been just especially frustrating to watch against any time they face a halfway good pitcher. They seem to be afraid to get to 2 strikes, and it's like, we've got to hit the first thing smoking. And I'm not sure what the fix is there. Because again, it's like, because you're not going to tell a player, take the first pitch. Like, in certain situations, you'll do that, especially late in the game. Take till you get a strike till the time run gets up.
something like that. Like that is something that will be done. But you're not going to handcuff these guys, by saying don't swing at the first pitch, because in some situations it is the best pitch to hit. But so you can't handcuff them that way. So I don't know what the change is. Like I don't know where you fix it other than some guys buying into, all right, if I get 2 strikes, it's all right. I'm going to make the best of it. But that's just got to be a team approach and trusting the next guy behind you. And I don't see that with this group right now.
And the other thing is, this is supposed to be a lineup with so much more power in it. Like you're basically on pace for what you're doing right now is like a shade better than what you did last year at the plate offensively, especially from a home run standpoint. Again, 17 home runs this year. Some guys have hit for some power, other guys really haven't. And look, you don't necessarily need to win baseball games by hitting home runs, but I'm just saying South Carolina was so much more successful 2-3 years ago in Monty Lee's first 2 years when this team was hitting 100+ home runs in a season. And granted, they were striking out more, but I think South Carolina's figured out how to lower the strikeout totals because they were much lower in strikeouts last year, but they stunk at everything else.
I was gonna say at this point, man, I'd take the trade off. I'd take the trade off of hitting some more home runs and adding some more strikeouts. I really would, man.
Yeah,
because this isn't a long-term, path to success. Like, sure, you may grind some teams down by hitting doubles and singles and doubles and doing all that, but over the long grind season, that's just not going to be the recipe for success. I mean, Ethan Lozama doesn't have a home run yet this year, and he's played in every game.
This is a guy that hit 15 homers last year at Western Kentucky. I mean, he was a extra base hit machine. Same thing with Logan Sutter. I mean, he's only got 2 home runs this year. And I mean, this lineup, and here's the thing. I mean, yes, they are close to the bottom of the SEC in home runs, but I'm not trying to make stuff up here, but I'm just using my brain here and trying to put 2 and 2 together. Notice how when Monty was here the first 2 years, the offense, like I said, was hitting over 100 home runs a year. Yes, they were striking out a lot more, but the approach, the boomer bust approach worked. Now, the last 2 years, keep in mind, Paul Maneri's the head coach. He's the one calling the shots probably. Monty is the hitting coach, but ultimately what South Carolina wants to do is up to the head coach himself. I can only imagine that Paul's philosophy of we don't take walks, we earn walks is, and it's kind of contradictory because aren't you earning a walk by working the count and working it full, and then you take ball 4? That doesn't really feel like the being aggressive and swinging at the first pitch every other at bat. That doesn't really sound like earning a walk to me. That sounds like you're just not taking pitches. And being aggressive is, I feel indifferent to it. If you want to swing at the first pitch, if it's a good pitch, like I know if I got a fastball down the middle or like a hanging changeup or a curveball, I'm swinging at it and I'm trying to hit it a long way. What I will say though is, especially when the plan on Friday worked so well. I don't care what Paul says. I see it with my own 2 eyes. They were working the count against Aiden Canuck, knocking him out of that game early and going into Clemson's bullpen. It worked so well. And you put the ball in play, and good things typically happen when you put the ball in play. You can just hope that Clemson will make mistakes, and they did. Can't happen every game, but you cannot go wrong putting the ball in play. My problem is that they totally went away from that approach the next 2 days. They really did not work the count against Sharman at all. I don't even know if they got to a 3-ball count, quite honestly. I don't know if they did.
I don't think they did. Someone from Clemson got put into my algorithm, and I do not think he had a 3-ball count all day.
But the problem, the other thing was he wasn't giving you many balls anyway, so maybe he would have.
Sure,
not. That's true. The next day, though, again, against a pitcher that, Taylor Bell, only went 4 innings, and they got to him in that second inning, but they really didn't do anything after that. It felt like a continuation of Saturday where they're just swinging early in the counts and they're trying to do too much early. And
well, to your point about that game on Sunday, the guys go out and they get 2 runs. And you know what they needed then? They needed a shutdown inning from the starting pitcher who was, given the Friday job to start the year. And he went out there and threw because I rewatched that inning today.
35 pitches.
Yeah, he threw 35 pitches that inning.
Yeah.
And that can't happen. Like that's just not what good teams do to win games. No. They scored 2 runs. They made the starter work his butt off that top of the second. And then what they needed Riley to go out there and give even if it's not a 1-2-3, give a clean inning, get in, get out. And he threw 35 pitches. And the offense never got back into a groove the rest of the game.
And that is a good transition into what we're going to talk about next. I think the starting pitching has been so-so. I think the pitching staff in general has been okay. I mean, outside of a few guys, everyone, for the most part on the staff, you have, besides 3 guys on this pitching staff, everyone else is an ERA about 4 or lower. So that's pretty good. Yep. Your team ERA is 3.15. You struck out 138 batters. You've walked 52. The walk's been a little bit high. But specifically with Riley Goodman, and you mentioned it, Ethan, that long inning was a really tough watch. He threw 2 wild pitches. He walked a few guys. And maybe it's credit to Clemson for being really disciplined at the plate and taking pitches. And because he's erratic and he's not finding the strike zone so early on in his career. And it's his first road start. I was not a huge fan of putting him on the road. If he had pitched at Segra, it wouldn't have been much of a difference since it's a neutral site.
Sure.
But you couldn't have pitched him on Friday, though, because you needed to win that game, which you did with Josh Gunther, who's now your Friday starter. But with Riley specifically, and I gave you a little bit of homework since you're a former righty, what are you seeing in his stuff from that Clemson game that makes you feel like was he tipping his pitches maybe? Was he is there something up with the arm slot? Is it just how do you figure out a guy is just lacking command?
So from what I saw, because I mentioned I went back and watched his Clemson start this morning. I went back, I watched every pitch he threw. What I'm seeing, and I do not work with Riley. I've never spoken to him, so I don't know the ins and outs of his routine. But armchair, pitching coach here.
But you're a former right-handed pitcher. You
have
pitched on the highest stage of college baseball. You've been to Omaha. You have worked with some great, coaches over the years from your time at Carolina, and you've had success. So you know what you're talking about. So don't call yourself armchair. No way. All right,
but in this current situation, so what I'm seeing is Riley looks to be a little bit of a cross shooter on his arm. He starts very closed, and his arm wraps behind him. So if y'all are watching on the stream, his arm gets back here. This is how he's at the plate. His arm wraps back here. And when you wrap like that, your timing has to be perfect to be in the zone. And what I'm seeing is that because of that wrap, if there's any disconnect with his front side, he's having to rush his arm through to get it on time. And what that leads to, and it's especially noticeable with his slider, he yanks. He yanks everything. So when he's trying to throw a good 2-strike slider and he's trying to put extra spin on it, he's opening up that front side a little bit and he yanks it, which is why he threw, I think, 4 wild pitches in that game on Sunday. Every slider, I was actually texting with a buddy who also played at South Carolina. I was texting with him on Sunday, and I was like, if Riley can locate his slider, he's gonna be really hard to beat. Because he threw. It wasn't Savoy, but as its first or second batter of the second inning, he threw a great slider and sat him down. It was his first strikeout of the game. Threw him a great slider, froze him, had no chance. And then you could see anytime he got to 2 strikes and he tried to go to that slider, he's trying to spin it so daggone hard that he just yanks it. And they're not competitive pitches. And then it's like, okay, now we got to get back. But because he's done that a couple times already, so now when he throws his fastball, his arm's a little bit late. So then that's when you're seeing the stuff miss up and in. He's got such good run on the ball. He's got such good left to right movement on his fastball. I don't know whether that's natural or if he's throwing a 2-seam fastball, but everything looks 4-seam from him for me. So that's just natural arm side run he's getting. But because he's been so quick up top on his slider, that's translating a little bit into the fastball. And where the slider, you're going to yank it down and in, fastball, you're going to be a little bit late. And that's where we're seeing this extreme movement that he doesn't have a good feel for it right now. And that's partly being, hasn't pitched in games in a year. Like this is his first game action in over a year. So he's still trying to work to find that feel. But his stuff is so good that I think he could stand a little bit of aim small, miss big. And when I say that, I mean move where you're trying to aim. So instead of trying to be black, try to pitch to the black, he should probably try to pitch to the outer third, and then let that go then let his movement take over from there. Because like I said, right now he just doesn't have a good enough feel for the movement on his fastball to place it consistently where he's trying to dot it here or there. Like he should honestly just be trying to throw it and let that fastball run and play that way. And then his slider, I just think he's trying to throw it too hard. I think he's trying to miss the bat so badly that he's just overthrown it, and it leads to not having control. So long way of saying I think less is more with him. I think he needs to dial it back a little bit, get through a couple innings, and then dial it up when you need to. I really think he needs to dial it back, 5%, 10% right now, at least early in his outings.
Great breakdown. I love it. I love hearing. This is why I have you on every Thursday, because you know what you're talking about. And look, I think anyone, even if you don't come from a pitching background, even if you're just watching that game with your own 2 eyes, watch us start from Army and watch the one against Clemson. Dude, I really couldn't tell you what adjustments were made, because it just feels like, because you heard Paul after Friday's game against Army 2 weeks ago say, yeah, Terry, Rooney, and Riley are going to go ahead and work together. They're gonna make some adjustments, see what tweaks they can make, and then come Sunday, he pitches worse. So something, obviously, maybe they did make tweaks, but the results are not any better. He pitched worse, and I asked Paul after the game what adjustments were made with Riley and Terry, because you did say that they were going to make some tweaks after Army. And then he gave me some kind of long-winded answer, and he basically said, you'd have to ask Terry. And I'm like, well, I was confused, because I'm like, well, aren't you the head coach? Like, aren't you involved in those meetings? And he's like, yeah, I'm involved in everything. And then so I honestly was just straight up. I was like, so wait, why don't you know what changes or adjustments were made? And he ended up getting into it. I think in retrospect, I think he wanted to just keep it on the down low of like, not revealing exactly what changes were made, but he's the one that mentioned it the other day, 2 weeks ago, like that they're going to make adjustments. So I think it's fair to ask, after another bad outing, what adjustments were made. And it was trying to get him on the mound more, give him a few days of extra rest, and it just didn't work. So you're hoping against a team like Princeton, which we'll talk about here pretty shortly, a team like that, hopefully you can get some confidence built against them because SEC plays around the corner. And look, I see a comment here that this needs to be Riley Goodman's last chance before making a change. I don't think so. I think if you could keep you let Jake McCoy go the entire season last year in the rotation. Now he got beat around. He got beat up. He had some good outings, but he got beat up. I will say, if you believe in his stuff and believe in what he can eventually become, you keep him in the rotation. Unless it gets to a literal point where it's like you just can't. You have I think you continue to ride with him until things hit a absolute breaking point where it's just like he's not getting any better and he's young. I get it. It's his first year of college baseball. But at some point, I think unless things go really haywire, I think you keep him in the rotation, and worst comes worse, maybe you move him to midweek. Maybe you put him in the bullpen. Just try to get him some confidence back before things get really out of hand.
Well, this comes back to, if Philpott and McCoy hadn't gotten hurt, then yeah, sure. You could be a little quicker on, putting Riley in a midweek and setting him up that way. As is, you're gonna throw Connor Ciccoli out there for SEC play. I like Connor. I think Connor's look good during his midweek stints. But is that what you're gonna run out there on Sundays? The stuff's too good. To your point, what's happening right now with Riley reminds me a lot of what happened last year with Jake. Good stuff. Get to 2 strikes, and we're working so hard for a strikeout that, man, a ground out the second. I know guys are really always nervous about giving up hits with 2 strikes. You get 2 strikes on them, you go up the hit. That's extremely frustrating for a pitcher. But man, I'd much rather give up something like that than to give somebody a free base. Just that's always been my thing. I like striking guys out. Don't get me wrong, but I hated walking guys more than I liked striking guys out. So I just think that he, like I said, I think less is going to be more for Riley, especially these next couple outings. Just he needs to find that feel for how good his stuff is. He really needs to find a feel for it. And then once you get that feel, that's when you can pump it back up. That's when you can, let it rip a little bit harder. But I just think he's overthrowing. I think he's trying too hard, and with that trying too hard, his mechanics get a little sloppy. And with that arm wrap, how he wraps his arm, I think your margin for error is so much smaller there. So I just think dialing it back just a bit will have added benefit for him.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And we don't know the pitching rotation yet. It's kind of weird this week because Princeton and South Carolina are not playing till Saturday. So Paul is not speaking to the media until tomorrow. Today is South Carolina's off day. And then on Friday, they'll be back at it. And we'll speak to Paul on Friday at 1 p.m., most likely with the media. But we should hear more about the rotation. I would imagine it stays the same status quo this weekend, like Josh Gunther, game 1 on Saturday, Ant Phillips game 2, and then Goodman game 3. I'd be shocked if it's anything else because, number one, you've had Brandon Stone and Alex Valentin pitch yesterday out of the bullpen. Both guys look great. You're gonna use them out of the bullpen moving forward. So it just makes sense to continue. Like Gunther's gonna be the Friday guy moving forward, but Amp's gonna be in this rotation. It just makes sense for Goody to be continuing to stay in this rotation, I think.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, the depth, like we talked about, when you lose two guys that were slated to be in the starting rotation, that means 2 other guys had to come up. So just the depth right now is just not there. I'm kind of looking at, like I said, Ciccoli could be an option. Elijah Foster has some starting experience. But other than that, obviously Stone, but Brandon's showing his value right now as being the first guy out of the pen.
He's been great. Yeah. He's your best overall pitcher right now in terms of stuff. He actually got up to 94 yesterday, dude. I mean, this is a guy last year that was throwing probably like 88, maybe 90. He has in terms of guys that have started games, he's got the lowest ERA on the team with 1.26. So
no, he's looked really good.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Valentin's been awesome. 12 and a third innings so far. No runs given up. I think Paul mentioned it yesterday. I think I agree with him on this. Is you have your game 1 starter, your game 2 starter, and your closer are the 3 most important players or pitchers on the team. And I agree. South Carolina, we talked about at lengths earlier before the season. Like South Carolina blew so many games in the late innings last year. It's nice to have this 1-2 punch in the bullpen kind of come to shape. And if you can't get a good outing out of Riley on Sunday, then I think you just go with Stone and Valentin to try and shut it down.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, we're at the point now in the season where there should be because nobody's coming back from an injury right now. So
Philpott should be back. I honestly think I think him and Cullen Horowitz are going to be back by Citadel next week. Don't quote me on that, but I do recall Paul recently saying, like, if all things go according to plan, they probably will be ready to go for Citadel. And it lines up with what we had heard from him originally, because the hope is that they'd be ready to go by SEC play, and conference play starts next weekend. So I think having those 2 guys back, especially even if they're pitching out of the bullpen week 1, I think that's fine.
No, because I was like, nobody should have pitch restrictions right now other than those 2 guys when they come back. So yeah, you're hoping for some good starts for some guys, because then, like I said, having that 1-2 punch of Stone and Valentin out there is huge. I thought Zach Russell looked real good on Sunday against Clemson. He got into a little bit of trouble, but I thought he looked really good. I just, like I said, I outside of a couple starts here or there, I think the bullpen has looked pretty good. Like, I mean, 138 strikeouts for the staff to 52 walks. Like, that's pretty good, man. Like, that will play. I'd like to see the walks a little bit lower.
Totally.
And again, that's amping Riley. Riley's walked 8 guys and 9.1 innings. Amp's a little bit better. He's thrown 13 innings and walked 7 guys. But I think if those 2 guys can get their control a little bit better, then I mean, the pitching staff's got some play to it. Then that just comes back to what are we getting from the offense?
Before we get into the weekend ahead, we do need to talk real quick about the injury news, because it's not – we thought maybe it'd be over after Philpott and McCoy and Horowitz. It's only getting worse as Reese Moore, junior catcher transfer from Iowa, will miss the rest of the season with upcoming knee surgery. So it's kind of weird because he had knee surgery in the fall. He missed the entire fall with the torn meniscus, and he came back, was in the opening day. I think he was in the opening day lineup. He DH'd most of the year. I think he caught maybe just like a game or so. But, yeah, he was your 3-hole hitter at one point, and he seemingly has disrupted that knee again, and now he's going to be out for the rest of the year. That's a tough loss because he was one of your 300 hitters. Again, middle of the order bat that was really good coming over from the Hawkeyes. So, and it kind of hurts your catching depth a little bit, because I don't know if he would have caught this year with his knees already being banged up. But if he could have played through it or whatever, I mean, that's your DH right there. And now you're down 3 catchers with Talmadge, Gavin Brayland, and Jake McCoy. And I think you're kind of if it's me, I'm sweating a little bit. Like, if Talmadge gets hurt, like, you're right back to square one of last year, where guys were getting hurt right and left on the catching, depth, and you were relying on Gavin Brayland, who I think is gotten better, but I mean, the guy could not hit the ball out of the infield last year, and I don't think he was the best defensive catcher.
No, to your point, I know Talmadge needs to play, but with not having the kind of safety net of Reese there, I'd like to see Talmadge maybe get a couple DH days, before we get to SEC play, because I believe, if I am reading this correctly, he has caught 12 of the 14 games start this year.
The goal should probably be to catch about like 40 this year. You're gonna like break that pace. He's got to be on pace at this point to catch like 50. I mean, that's just not sustainable, especially as you get into SEC play here. So I think this would be a good weekend with a doubleheader on Saturday. I hope Paul learns from his mistakes last time with the doubleheader, with the guys being tired and whatnot. Who knows? But
we'll see.
If it were me, I'm catching Talmadge against game one with Gunther, and then I'm honestly either having him catch game two. I'm probably not. I'd probably have someone else catch game two, and then let him DH. And then, honestly, if things go well, maybe have him DH again, because that DH spot is open in the lineup right now.
No, and that's the thing. The DH spot's open. I don't know if Reese caught a game. So I mean, Talmadge,
he caught. I believe he was in. I want to say it was one of the midweek games. I think it was Wofford. He came in to catch in the later innings.
Yeah, he came in. So yeah, to that point, then if I'm reading that correct, then yes, Talmadge has caught 13 of the 14 games. The only game he did not catch was the second game of the doubleheader opening weekend.
It's crazy. It's
wild. Now he hasn't caught every inning because, like I said, I mean, Gavin's come in a few times. Gavin's got to start. So he hasn't caught every single inning, but he has started at catcher 13 of the 14 games this year.
Yeah,
so far.
And by the way,
unsustainable pace.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Reese Moore should be able to medically redshirt though. This is his fourth year of college, but he's technically a junior somehow because I guess he redshirted his first year at Iowa. He just didn't play his first year at Iowa, and then he played the last 2 years, and now he's kind of in a situation where he should be able to. So if he is able to fully, because he hasn't played in the amount of games where it's like Talmadge, for instance, played in 17 games last year. And then when he got hurt, he was able to medically redshirt and made the cutoff by 1 game. So Reese, in theory, should have made it by 10 games. So he should be able to medically redshirt, and that would give him 2 years of eligibility remaining. Now, what does he do after this year? Does he come back to South Carolina? Does he go back to Iowa? I have no idea. Right. He's an Iowa guy. But that'll be a topic for another day. Let's get into the weekend here. South Carolina taking on what is Princeton? The Tigers? Is that? I don't know what they are.
Yes, yeah, they're the Princeton Tigers.
Princeton Tigers. So, doubleheader Saturday. I don't know, that's probably a trigger word for a lot of folks out there, but doubleheader Saturday. The main reason, from my understanding of why it is a doubleheader instead, there's no rain in the forecast, I don't think, tomorrow. The reason why they're playing a doubleheader is because the Ivy League does not allow student athletes to skip multiple days of class, apparently. So typically, like, you would travel for a Friday game, you'd travel on Thursday. So instead, what they're doing, so they don't miss Thursday and Friday, they're going to travel on Friday. And that way they're only missing, I'm sure some of them won't be able to make their class, but they'll travel Friday, and then they'll be here Saturday and Sunday for the games. So doubleheader Saturday, and then a game on Sunday. And this Princeton team's kind of weird, Ethan. They're 2-5 this season, but they've played NC State, a ranked NC State team, and then they've played Duke. Now, they played both teams in doubleheaders. They dropped 2 of 3 against NC State, and then they dropped 2 of 3 against Duke. So they have 2 very good wins on their resume right now. So for that alone, especially with the fact that you're playing a doubleheader on Saturday, it's going to be tough to sweep this team. We'll get into more predictions here in a little bit. But, yeah, this Princeton team, I mean, for some reason, they are able to just salvage the series every single time so far. And this isn't a very good – just based on the metrics and the stats, this is not a very good team. They're hitting 176 as a team, 5 homers, 20 RBIs this year, 260 on-base percentage, and a 276 slugging. So So if you thought South Carolina was bad offensively, take a cold, hard look at Princeton. And then the pitching staff, they only have one guy with a 0 ERA. Everyone else, I mean, there's a guy with a 108 ERA on the team. So their team ERA this year is 8.42.
Yep.
Which is not very good. They walk a lot of guys, and they don't strike out a ton of guys. So 49 strikeouts, 43 walks. I'm just going to say right now, I know you got a doubleheader, and I know Princeton just seemingly finds a way to beat a good team every now and then. But if you do not sweep this weekend, I mean, a lot of people are already checked out and done, but you can't lose a game to this team this weekend. I don't care. South Carolina should have no excuse. If we're sitting here next Thursday talking about, my God, they lost to Princeton in a game, we may as well just cancel the show, man. I mean, it is. They've had bad losses this year. If they lost a game to this team, I'm sorry. But I don't know a ton about Princeton, other than that they're an Ivy League school, and they're really smart. But I'm seeing the numbers here, and they are terrible numbers. I don't know how they beat these two. I don't know how they beat Duke and NC State. I must say more about those teams. But South Carolina's really got to come out here playing well this weekend.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong on that. I definitely think it should be a sweep this weekend. I think what works in South Carolina's advantage is it seems to be the best part of this team is their pitching staff right now. So it's going to keep them in games, especially with this type of competition. The pitching staff should keep them in the game long enough that the offense has one of their innings where they score multiple runs. That seems to be this offense's, MO right now is kind of nothing for 6 to 7 innings at a time. And then one or two innings, boom, there's a crooked number. So I think that's going to be the recipe for them to hopefully sweep this weekend. I would like to see this offense just get going, like just have a game where from the first inning it's go time. I think that, and hopefully this is a weekend they can do that, because man, would it be nice to have one of these two doubleheader games, one of these games on doubleheader be a 7-inning game because you run ruled them.
Yeah, you haven't had one yet this year. I don't think you haven't run ruled anybody. You've come close.
Yeah, they did. Because Sutter hit the walk-off home run. That's right. That's
right. Good call. All right. Yeah.
But that's it. But that was the 8th inning. It's
they've come close a few times though. Like Tuesday against SC or Upstate, they came pretty close, but coming close isn't enough. And you're right. I think we need to see just a consistent barrage on offense. And let's just get straight into predictions, because I think we both know how this should go, and I think we both know how it's going to go. I'll just give my take. South Carolina's going to sweep the series. I think, oh my God, if we are really talking about them losing to the Princeton freaking Tigers on next Thursday, dude, before SEC play, I think big red flag, especially with all the other red flags you've seen this year. That would just tell me that, and man, I mean, especially if they lose at like one of those doubleheader games or something, I mean, it's going to be a real bad look, because the excuses, the tiredness and all that was out there after the doubleheader. People are going to eat them alive if that's the case. Just go out here, play a good series, get good pitching, get some timely hits. You don't need to score 10 runs every inning, but you should be able to work. And this is the type of team against that I think you work the count. Don't swing at the first pitch if it's not a good pitch. Like, take your pitches and earn a walk. Do exactly what Paul Maneri says is his approach, but it never ends up being his approach, is take the base and then just let your guys rip it from there. So I'm taking South Carolina to sweep the series. Anything less is an utter embarrassment.
Yeah, I'm with you. It needs to be a sweep. It needs to be a sweep. we need to see some guys get going, or playing time needs to be drastically reduced. I see two guys that we got to see something. I think Dawson Harmon and Bo Hollins. There needs to be signs of life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, then we need to see who else can possibly deliver something. I mean, those guys are hitting 211 and 135 respectively.
It's terrible.
Only one home run between them. Gavin is it looks like I'm sorry. Bo Hollins has 5 singles this year. He has 5 hits, and they're all singles. Slugging 135 is not like, no, like that can't be what it is, not from your first baseman. So I think those guys have got to get going. And then, hopefully Lozama's not playing bad. I actually like a lot of his at bats. It's, because like you said, I texted you when he hit that ball at Clemson. Like, I thought that thing was clearly gone.
Same here.
So I think Lozama's close. I think Lozama's really close to having, a couple big weekends. But
he's swinging the bat better.
But some of these other guys, especially with losing Reese Moore for the year. I mean, that was supposed to be one of your big bats. Just some of these guys have got to get going, or just changes. Like, other guys are going to have to get at bats. Because like you said, next weekend's SEC play.
Is it a big deal for South Carolina to go 6-0 after the Clemson loss and before SEC play? So that would mean you've already won the 2 midweek games. You would sweep Princeton, and then you would win at Citadel on Tuesday next week. Is that a big deal in your eyes? Because you'd be 13-5 overall this year, and it gives you a little bit of confidence. To me, I think it's a big deal, but I want to hear from you and why.
Yeah, you have to. If you had not lost to Queens and Northern Kentucky, I don't think it's nearly big a deal. I think, because then you're 15-3, or you have the opportunity to be 14-4, whatever. There's some wiggle room there, but you have dropped a few games that should not have happened, and we're in the time where I think, as much as like we're talking about tournament, how important it is from a fan perspective. I know the fans are out, until they see them beat some real teams. But you lose if you're not 6-0 at the end of this. Apathy starts to set in.
I think it already has set in, though, because you had last year where we're out, like, the crowds at these games, and I know we have a lot of comments about it. The crowds have been, and last night I think it was actually, for a midweek game, it was decent compared to the other night on Tuesday where you had like 300 people there, in Queens last week when you had nobody there. Yes, but I do think the fans are voting with their wallets, because basketball, it was a ghost town on senior night, and then yesterday was okay, but I'd be interested to see, with the weather being in the 80s this weekend, what kind of crowd they're going to get, because, I mean, look, some people just don't care anymore, and that is a far cry from where things used to be.
Yeah, so I just think from the standpoint of, like, you got to win games you're supposed to win at this point. So to then, like you said, have a little bit of confidence. You got Florida next week. I mean, it'll be tough, but I
think it's possible.
If I see the offense get rolling, I'm going to have way more confidence. I need to see the offense do something.
That's the main thing.
I am confident enough in this pitching staff, between the stuff of Riley Goodman, him kind of figuring it out, the performances of Gunther, Stone, and Valentin, and then the other bullpen guys. Like, I have enough, and then hopefully you're getting Philpott back, you're getting Horwitz back. Like, I can see the vision with the pitching staff.
Agreed.
I haven't seen it yet with the offense, and I need to see it for a 6-game stretch here, or 4 games now. But I need to see it for the 4-game stretches here to have any kind of confidence going into SEC play.
100%. All right. I think that's going to do it for us today. South Carolina 3-game series starts on Saturday against Princeton. Doubleheader, first pitch, 1 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Game 2 will be right after at 4:30 p.m. approximately. We'll see how the first game goes on SEC Network Plus. And then I believe let me see what Sunday is. I believe Sunday is
I got it right here. Sunday is at 1:30.
All right, figured. Thank you. Appreciate you. 1:30 SEC Network Plus. Gamecocks looking to continue a 2-game winning streak. And like I said, I think it would be really big. And like Ethan said, it would be really big if they were to go 6-0 before heading into Gainesville next Friday. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. And we'll see you next week as we get ready to talk about the start of Southeastern Conference play. For Ethan Carter, I'm Jack Veltri. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the wonderful weather, and we'll see you guys next week